glad you guys are all here. And our panelists.
My name is Jennifer Rowe, and I'm a recipient of the Ford Restart Foundation.
My name is Amanda Peacock, and I received the Ford Restart.
Okay. So I have several questions that I'll ask the panelists, and you guys can just kind of take turns, whatever, and as we go, if you guys have a question that's kind of, they say something and you go, oh, well, what about this? Ask it, because that's what this is about, is for you to, kind of get your questions asked so that you're feeling as ready as possible when you go to do your interview. So, what was your experience arriving for the interview?
You go first. So I left Salem about 3 hours prior to my interview time because I was in Eugene, and I found that was way too much time, especially on a hot day to sit out in your car and wait. But then I went in and went out, and I felt really comfortable because there were several other TRiO students waiting for their interviews as well that I had gone through the previous year with, and so we were all. It helped calm our nerves, but you just go in and there's a receptionist there and check in with her and then wait, and then there are several panels who are meeting in the building, and then they take you to one, and then there are 3 or 4 people who are going to interview you, and they're all very welcoming. The Ford family staff are some of the nicest people you will ever meet.
So I also have Cy is a advisor at Chemeketa over in Dallas, and he's also a Ford recipient. So he gave us an email with some of his answers. He said, leave early, try to arrive in the area about 90 minutes early. This will allow you to find the location of the building. Says there's a few coffee shops in the area. Go have a cup of coffee and clear your mind. So know yourself, though. I'm adding this to his answer. If you're already nervous and, hyping yourself up with a bunch of coffee isn't necessarily your best plan, then think about that. Says arrive at the interview 15 to 20 minutes early. So get to the base, the place about an hour and a half early, but you don't have to walk up to the interview. That's what it's saying. Until 15, 20 minutes early. Said, bring your spouse or significant other with you for support. She can wait in the car for you, but knowing that you have someone there for support is a good thing. You can talk on the way down to Eugene, and this will help relieve some of your nerves. So that might be a good thing for you, to have another person going with you who is kind of calm. I would suggest, if you've got a real high-strung person with you, that might not be helpful. So choose somebody that is calm. Hey. All right. So, welcome. Savastina, which of the Ford scholarships are you in for?
I believe it's
Restart.
Restart, yes.
Yeah, okay, great. So, all right, so definitely get there early.
So Mike, I'd like to add to that.
Yep.
So I didn't arrive 90 minutes early personally because I felt like I would just stress about it. So I did give myself time to get there in case there were any troubles finding the location. I ended up walking in about 15-20 minutes beforehand, and you're nervous enough at that point. So if you really feel like you're going to be nervous that day, I think you could get yourself more so if you have a lot of time to waste. So definitely get there in enough time. But for me personally, I didn't want to get there too early. Definitely early enough. Give yourself time in case you have trouble finding the location.
That's the thing, is nothing will add to your stress more than trying to get there and, oh no, there's road work. Oh no, I'm late. Oh no.
Yeah.
And then I got a ticket because I'm going too fast. Right? So don't do that. Get there and then relax. You know, I mean, just so you know, you're not going to be running in late. You know, that'll make it so much harder for you.
What about parking? Because
Yeah, good question.
I went and they had me go like, oh, did you had an interview there? And I had more trouble parking than I did because I was there early, and the parking really got me.
So they've moved to a new location since, and so I haven't been to the new location yet to tell you, but it's supposed to be larger.
And there was ample parking at the
Okay,
old
so there's parking
location.
there that you don't have to pay for or anything like that?
No,
I don't think you do.
at least last year that wasn't the case, but again, they moved locations.
Okay. That makes sense. Thank you.
Okay, so definitely early enough that you're not stressed by the process of getting there, and maybe not so early that,
Yeah.
oh, I got nothing to do but
Stress about it.
be stressed, right?
Walk
Okay.
around.
So, here's an important one. What were some of the questions that you were asked what do you remember them asking you about?
So they asked several questions in the interview. Some of the ones that I personally remember, and almost all of the questions are going to come directly from your OSAC application. So if you do not know what you wrote, go back and reread that. If you do not know what volunteer activities you have on your activity sheet, you need to know that information. So they asked me specifically about part of my essay where I wrote about adverse childhood experiences influencing my life and wanting to become a social worker now. And so they just asked me to expand on that because I was somewhat vague in my actual scholarship application, and in my response to them, I responded also somewhat vague. I didn't harp on the fact that I had this childhood that wasn't so great, but and they responded directly to me right after I answered the question that they liked the fact that I, stated that I had this experience, but really focused on why that mattered to me now and how that was influencing my path now, not to focus so much on that path part. They also asked me what was my favorite activity on my volunteer activity chart. I felt like I got a little lucky with this one because my answer was about volunteering for a dance team and teaching dance, and one of the panelists was a dance teacher, so she particularly liked that response. And then they also asked me to justify my 4.0. And you might not think that they're going to ask you to tell them why you have a 4.0. They might, and I know that in other interviews they ask you if you have a lower grade, why, what happened, and what are you doing to fix it. But they also want to know why you have a great grade point average. And my answer to that was because I use the resources that are made available to me. I'm a member of TRiO. I use the tutoring center. I use the Lindy Library. I use all of the resources that the campus has available, and that's what they want to see because they want people who are going to be successful using their scholarship funds and that are going to complete all the way to graduation. And so if they know that you have a great support system and that you know how to use all of those resources, they're more likely to invest in you as well because they believe that you will graduate.
Yeah, so they did really focus on everything they asked came from the application. So it's very important that you hopefully were really honest about your answers. And they did ask me, I had something that adversely happened. I was in a terrible car accident and it pretty much changed my life. So they asked me specifically about that and how I was able to overcome my recovery, and asked me more detailed about how that happened and if those would be barriers for my education. And I have had to have a special chair in my classroom and things like that, but I'd already had those accommodations, so I can share that. They did ask about many of my volunteer activities, how I've been involved with the community, and they did ask about future plans, like what was I going to do with my degree, and they wanted like specifics, like what is your long-term plan and how are you going to achieve it. So even though you were writing that down on your statement, then they wanted to actually like hear it. So definitely be thinking about that as well.
And if you're currently thinking, I don't know what my plan is, make a plan now and stick to it in the interview. As long as you stick to it in the interview, you're all writing your term by term class plan. Yeah, that's completely out the window for me now. So you just have to have the plan in place and be committed to it. It doesn't mean that at some point life or whatever happens that you need to change that plan. But right now, do not go in there and say, I don't know, or maybe this is it. Tell them this is it. This is what I want to do. And if it changes down the road, they'll work with you on that.
Absolutely, yeah.
Nice. So, know what you wrote in your application, because they can ask you anything about any of that, right?
Yes.
And they do. I've heard this over and over again through the years, that they'll pick something from your application to ask you about almost for everybody. And be consistent with, this is what I'm going to do. If you're wishy-washy, they are going to pick somebody else. And it also sounded like both of you had examples of how you've overcome and where you're going and how that relates to where you're going, not dwelling on all the details of what happened, but just this thing happened and here's what I learned and where I'm going.
Right.
So, pretty good formula.
Another piece of advice that I have on the interview and the questions, sometimes they will ask you questions directly related to your transcript. You might have letters on your transcripts like R and N and T or D, like when you drop a class. I'm not sure actually what that letter is. Don't go into your interview and not know what that is. The people who are interviewing you are not from the academic world. They're volunteers they volunteer with Ford Foundation to do the interviews. And so you need to be able to explain to them what's on your transcript and why it's there. So if you don't know what those things are, find out before your interview, because they will ask you to explain things that are not like A, B, C, and D's. If there's any other letters or anything that's happened on your transcripts.
Okay. So, Sai had said 2 questions. What are my goals in college and a career? What types of classes do I struggle with? So, those are common. But they can ask you absolutely anything. Tell us about a book you read recently. I mean, who knows what they may ask you, so be yourself.
They asked me how I felt about TRiO, specifically, how I felt about the program, what the program meant to me, which I thought was odd, but it was actually just a question that one of the panelists just wanted for their own information, because he was stating that, and I don't know if you're all TRiO students or not, but that the students who come from the TRiO program and interview for Ford are much more prepared for the process than people who are not involved in TRiO. So he just wanted to know more about that. It was interesting. It didn't really pertain to my application or anything.
Yeah, it's interesting. Okay, so what did you wear, or what do you recommend someone wear to this type of interview?
I wore a suit, and I would suggest that you wear your most professional outfit. And if you don't have one, you don't have the money, there are places like the Goodwill, and they have plenty of suits there, but you don't have to wear a suit, but I would wear your most professional outfit. This is something that can change your life. You would want to wear something that you would, receiving this has changed my life. So I wore the very best outfit that I could wear that was very professional. It's very important. I cannot stress that enough. It's very important.
What if it's too expensive?
It doesn't have to be expensive. There's great suits at the Goodwill. You might have a friend that you can borrow an outfit from. And I suppose, if you have a problem, maybe just ask around. There's somebody that's willing to invest in you, because this is, like I said, it can be life-changing for you.
There's also an agency down on 13th Street called Helping Hands, and they provide free clothes, and they have clothes specifically for like business attire interviews for people who cannot afford them. So that's something you could also look into. I just wore a pair of gray slacks, black high heels, and a blouse with a cardigan. It was extremely hot, abnormally hot on the day that I went for my interview. It was like 98 degrees outside, and it was in April of last year. So, I mean, I just couldn't bring myself to wear that suit jacket.
So, welcome. You made it.
Straggler.
So, okay, so Sai said business attire, I wore slacks, jacket, and a tie, look professional. So, consistent advice, right? It's a very serious thing that you're asking them to invest in you a tremendous amount, and yeah, you got to go approaching it like it's a big deal,
Well, and I want to point out that obviously it's going to be more than how you look, but remember, not everybody that comes to the interview is going to get it. About half of you are. So if you stand out in the crowd, you've really, and I'm not saying you have to wear a suit, but looking sharp is definitely a part of it. It's part of the package.
So, was there anything during the interview that surprised you or caught you off guard?
I wouldn't say that there was. I mean, it was, if you've gone to job interviews and things like that, I mean, it was pretty standard for, the formality of it, coming in, checking in with the secretary, waiting, being led to a panel, and just asking questions. There was one moment that was kind of funny to me, and I just answered a question, and one of the panelists put her head down, and she goes, "Man, she was good." And that's when I knew I got the scholarship, by the way. I knew I had it at that point, but it was a pretty standard interview process.
I think I was surprised at how precise, exact. I mean, they called me it was exactly on the time, on the dot, and so they've got their system down. So be sure to be there on time. I would say it surprised me at just how, not that I thought they wouldn't be kind, but they were just so incredibly kind. I mean, people are just they're rooting for you. And I felt like in the interview, I felt so comfortable just to be me, and it flowed so well.
I would agree. The people who interviewed me, I had 2 females and 2 males, and they were both so kind and so nice and just very genuine people.
Mm-hmm.
And they believe in the Ford Foundation so much,
Mm-hmm.
and they want the best people, and they know that if you're there for that interview, that you are one of the best people. So
Yeah.
remember that you are one of the best. There's only so many spots that they can fill,
Mm-hmm.
but if you're there, that means that you did what you need to do
Yeah.
to get there. And so just be yourself, be genuine, and when they're asking questions, don't try to be perfect. They're not looking for perfection. Trust me, there are people who have F's on their transcripts who still receive scholarships.
That is
You
true.
do not have to be perfect. Just be genuine and have the plan, and let them know that you are ready to succeed.
That's good.
So you had 4 people in yours. How many people were in your panel?
I had 4 as well.
Okay. I've heard that they've had more or less than that at times. So I've heard from 3 to about 6 people. I've had different people say different numbers. And so don't be surprised if you walk in the room and it's more than 4, you know. Don't let that throw you. It's, you know, whoever is there is who's there, and they're the ones that get to, you know, work through, do you meet, you know, what they're looking for?
And they've had the opportunity to look over your application before you come in, and each one of them has a question. So whatever they found, and that's why you can have any type of question. It's whatever intrigued them about you as they're reading through. So they can be all very different questions, and they will each ask you once. You have an opportunity to kind of have build this like a little rapport with each person. So just make sure that you're really engaged, eye contact, and just try to really relax into that moment with that person, because they've taken the time to select that question for you.
Going back to questions they asked me, I think this is very important. They asked me what I know about Ford family. So they do not own a car dealership. They have nothing to do with Ford Motor Company. You need to know the Ford family, where they started, why they do what they do. It's very important to the foundation that you understand the origins of the Ford family and why you're receiving the scholarship. So they will ask you, what do you know about the Ford Family Foundation? And so all that information is available on their website. They have a whole bio history, videos you can watch. So definitely watch all of those, read as much as you can before you go to the interview.
Between now and then, go to the Haley Ford
The art
museum downtown. You don't have to do
Out
that.
west.
But it wouldn't hurt, right, to go.
Oh, is it the art museum?
It's
Yeah.
free, I think,
It's
too.
part
It's an art
of
museum.
like associated with alignment.
Haley Ford was very interested in all aspects of building up her community. Her husband was the one who started the scholarships for people who worked in the lumber mill that he owned. And he started offering scholarships to the children of the workers there and the workers themselves. And then Haley, the wife, she started looking at single mothers and other people who didn't have the opportunity, and they just grew their scholarship foundation from there. But still, do your own research. Don't go in there and say all that.
She was a teacher, and so she really cared about students, and that's why education was really important to her. So she definitely read about it. They have an amazing story.
Yeah, you have to know the organization that's offering you money. You got to know who they are and what they're about, right? If you're going to tell them about you and how that matches, you know, and you're not changing who you are, but you're going to talk to them about you and how, you know, you're going to say the things that match them, right? Not, again, you're not making up new stuff that's not true about you, but stuff that matches. So, let's see. So, what would one of the biggest pieces of advice you could give what is one of the biggest pieces of advice you could give future interviewees?
I think just really be genuine, be yourself. It's really important. Don't go in as someone else or what you think. If you're a perfectionist or you think you have to be something else, you know, if you wrote who you are in your essays and you stand behind, I mean, the work that you did and your volunteering and what you've done at school and that, just go in and really, you know, own who you are and just let who you are shine. I think I've talked to a lot of students over the years. I was a recipient of 2012. So every year when I've gone, I always ask questions and talk, and we are a variety of people, all different types of stories, and some more, you know, extensive than others, like through hardships. But what you could see is this overwhelming, just people are who they are, being just really genuine and authentic. So really, just own who you are.
Yeah, and I've already said it during the interview, but I agree. It's just going in there and presenting yourself, your true self, who you are to them. And just, yes, show your best side, but just be as genuine and personable. I mean, these people who are interviewing you are so personable, and if you're just in there being really stiff and like, they want you to relax and just have this conversation with them. It's not, it's really hard to explain, but once you get there, you'll realize how welcoming and how different of a process it is than what you may be anticipating.
I'd like to add that what she just said is really key. It is more of a conversation. It's not as like, I kind of envisioned when I was going to get these questions like fired off and I better like get back, this answer a certain way. And that's the way I was envisioning it. And the first thing they do is really make you feel comfortable. And you just like how, we're having a conversation, you just have a conversation. So I feel like that's really good advice.
So I said almost exactly that. The interview seemed to be more of a conversation and wanted just to know more about me. So definitely. His biggest piece of advice, again, agreed exactly with what you guys said. Be yourself, listen to and fully answer the questions. And so that's something that I think you might want to practice, because it's, if you kind of practice interviewing, you're going to get better at explaining who you are and think about the kind of questions that they may ask you and have, an answer that's more than just a few words. Don't undersell yourselves. A lot of times, people go into an interview and it feels kind of intimidating and they kind of give minimum answers and then they don't get enough from you. And part of this is you have an opportunity, it is a conversation. They are rooting for you and want to like you. I always tell people that people give scholarships to people they know and people they like. This is your very best and only opportunity there to get them to like you. And not in some weird way, but in a real, like, okay, I like people that I can talk to, and actually they respond, and they make eye contact, and they give you a real answer. They're willing to tell you a little bit about themselves. If you close down and you don't, open up a little and give them then it's hard for them to make that connection with you. So you have to connect.
Absolutely.
Also, I did this in my interview, and multiple people that I've talked to did this in their interview, and you might think that it's very inappropriate, but crying during your interview, it probably will happen, especially when you're talking about things that you're very passionate about, things that you really want for your life, and you understand how, like I'm getting teary-eyed, like how much the scholarship can really change your future. They expect you to cry. There are tissues in front of you. But you don't have to go in there and cry. Please do not go in there and cry.
Don't like your finger,
Yes, don't go in and cry just because, no. But they understand that you're talking about things that are emotional for you and things that you've been through in your life, where you want to go. So if you do happen to cry a little, it's not a big deal, but don't go to cry. They're not going to give you a scholarship just for crying.
Right. I've still cried more than anybody I've ever met.
Let me give her a lot of money.
I actually thought that I was going to cry, and I teared up but I didn't cry.
Well, I
So,
didn't cry,
like, but
yeah,
I
you got all
definitely teared up, like the
teary.
passion part definitely teared up, but I didn't cry. Also, they did ask me if I had any questions at the end. And
Have
I
a
did.
question.
So make sure that you have a question, yeah.
So the question that I asked at the end was, how does the Ford Foundation sustain the amount of scholarships we give out every year? Because they're not just giving out the Restart and the Opportunities and the Scholars, they also have high school scholarships. I mean, they're giving out hundreds of thousands of dollars every year to students. And so my question to them was, how does the Ford family sustain this and keep it going for all of these years? If you want to know the answer, you can ask them. But yeah, definitely have questions for them. It could be anything, like it could be like that about the Ford family, their foundation, or it could be about the process going forward. When can I expect to hear back from you after this interview? What is the next step in the process? Things like that.
They ask you, what are you going to do if you don't get this scholarship? I've heard them ask
They
a
did
lot
ask-
of people.
Yeah, they did ask me that.
Yes, they did. Actually, they did ask me that.
And
Yeah.
did you say, I'm going to do this anyway?
I sure did.
Yep, I'm going to keep going
Yeah.
regardless of if I
Yeah.
get the scholarship or
Please
not.
say, I'm going to do this anyway.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yep.
if you say, nah, I'm out, then you're out.
No,
I
definitely.
had no
Because they don't
intention.
want giver-uppers.
Right, I had no intention on continuing after Chemeketa until I joined TRiO and then ended up with a scholarship and, well, ended up, that sounds like not great, but was blessed with a scholarship. I had planned on stopping, but now I look at it as a huge opportunity and it would just be a waste and then for my life. So even though I had no plans on continuing unless I got the scholarship, I went in there with the exact plan of if I got it. And when they asked me that question, what are you going to do if you did not receive the scholarship? I told them I'm going to make my goals regardless of this happening for me or not. And I think that's the correct answer for everyone. Make sure that you say that you're going to keep going.
Yeah.
And I said, if I don't get it this year, well, I guess you'll be interviewing me next year.
I did say something like that too, because I planned if I didn't get it, I was gonna get it the next year for sure.
And they do enjoy humor. So if you're a humorous person and that's part of your personality, don't be afraid to show that.
Okay. So the last one here was, do you have anything specific you'd like to share with the group? Any other insights, thoughts, ideas about what to do?
I don't.
Or not,
I
or not do.
did forget a question that they did ask, but they asked me to tell them why I deserve it. Why do you deserve the scholarship? And you, if you, like Mike was saying, if you tend to sell yourself short, which I definitely do, this is not the moment to do that. You need to tell them why, and you need to be confident in this moment and tell them all of the things that are great about you. Do not hold back, even if that's your natural inclination.
They did ask me that question as well.
That's when you get teary-eyed, that question right there.
So I want to share, so any additional things, I want to share some of the things specific that they've done for me. Because everybody will have, you know, different needs, different colleges, different things. But this foundation does more than just pay for your tuition. We have a training that we do, a workshop that we do every year that's paid for, and it's catered. They fly someone in usually that's like a wonderful speaker, and we get to learn just so many like wonderful new things. And every year the speaker is different. It's catered. You dress nice. You get to meet your other board recipients. It's just such a professional event that they do annually. That's like amazing. We get newsletters with tips. You can call them anytime, and I've called them so many times over the years with many questions. They send letters. When my dad was in a serious motorcycle accident, I ended up missing I had to miss a semester because I ended up going and staying in the hospital with him. It was really serious, and I was in the hospital like for a month with him out of state. I didn't even have time to fill out the form to like, you have to fill out a form if you're gonna miss because you need to stay like full-time and going. But I didn't even have time for that. It was such an emergency. Had to get to California, and I literally called after I was down there, and my dad was life flighted to Sacramento after I was down in California, and I was crying on the phone with them because I didn't know if my dad was gonna live. Sorry. And Dee-Ro, she just was so loving and so kind, and she just said, I'll take care of the form. Everything's going to be fine. You don't worry. You're going to graduate. And I know that, it's all going to be fine. Thank you. Thank you. And she just assured me, and I needed that because I thought I'm going to lose everything I've worked so hard for. And yet my dad was more important, his life and me being there. So I just want you to know that this is a family, and you become a part of this. This is my family, and you become a part of this family, and this staff will go above and beyond anything, very much like TRiO. We're a family, we're a TRiO family. So, but I'm saying I didn't even have to go through the process is what I'm saying. She took care of that. And then I was there for just a little over a month, and I came back and I started the next semester, and that's one thing that they've done, but there have been other times where I've had some life circumstances. They sent me a card, everybody signed it, they become like family. It's just above and beyond. I've heard people have problems with their vehicles, and they've actually helped with repairs. Not that you use this organization, but they are invested above and beyond what you could ever imagine.
Yeah. And if you receive the scholarship, when you receive the scholarship, they will help you through all of the struggles that you have, because that's what's going to get you to graduation. So if your car breaks down and you can't make it to PSU or Western or wherever you're driving from Salem, they'll help with that. Another Ford recipient, they were unexpectedly lost their home, and Ford put them into a new home within 2 or 3 days. So I mean, they really, really are a huge resource, not just within school, but with your family, and it's really amazing.
And so I'm going to tell you about 2 things that sometimes people don't really know, and especially it sounds like you in the, what was your name again? In the blue?
Clemente.
Clemente. So it doesn't sound like you know too much about this scholarship, so I want to tell you some things that could really excite you. How many of you are interested in traveling internationally? Has anyone ever thought about like studying abroad? Well, they paid for my study abroad last year.
I want to go study abroad.
They paid for all of my study abroad, and I studied abroad in Germany for 3.5 months. It was one of the best experiences of my life. They do that. It does have to fit within your plan, so you'd be working with your university, but that's a real possibility. When I came and I was in your position and somebody told me that, I knew that I was going to study abroad. And I can't tell you how wonderful that looks on your resume, how much it changes you as a person, living in a different culture, and it's absolutely amazing. So they do that. I just wanted to let you know about that. And then the value, how much it can actually change. People they've just paid. I graduated in 2 weeks from Corbin, and they've paid just so excited. It's been a long, tough journey. But they've stood by my side. They've paid just over $100,000 of my education. So I don't know about you guys, but if that just did something to you, it's changed my life. I'll be the first one in my family to graduate from college. I'm so excited. I just started working here this week. This is my 3rd day in the TRiO program and the incubation program. So I get to give back, and I get to, regardless if I'm here or somewhere else in the future, I will always be available. If I'm available, I will be here to give back, because this has changed my life, and it's changing my children's life, and there's just so many opportunities ahead. So I just want you to know there's just so much more than what you could imagine. It's even more.
Can I ask a quick question about studying abroad?
Yes.
You mentioned, I heard you just say just now that you have children. The college that I'm attending heavily encourages and stresses and wants their students to study abroad. I'm trying to minor in Spanish. I've been asked by several of my teachers, are you going, are you going? But I have 2 young children that are 14 and 12. I don't know how to go if they didn't go with me. How did you make that work?
So mine were older, and I
Okay.
was able to, like, for me, that wasn't really an issue.
Gotcha.
But I think that's a good question. Here's the thing. If it's meant to work out, it will. So if you can find a way, like if there's a strategy and a way that you can present it, I feel like they're always trying to make things work. So I can't say for sure it will work. Always ask, because you start at no, and you can still end at no, but you have something to gain. So always ask.
Definitely.
Don't be afraid to ask.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
definitely ask. And there are short term, so I was gone, I actually stayed a couple extra weeks. So, but there are short term, trips too, and you may be able to get them to pay for that as well. But for me, I did study a whole semester abroad. But in that, I was able to travel to 12 countries in that 3.5 months. So at this point, let's see, in the last 5 years, I've traveled to 17 countries, but it's been life-changing. So if you go to Europe, the cool thing is that the countries are so close. And if you do a study abroad where you have the weekends off, my study abroad program allowed us to have every 2 weeks we had a week of, we had a week off, but it was a reading study week, so we'd have to read. But then we traveled, so I just traveled all over Europe. It was amazing.
Sign me up.
It was amazing.
So let me give you what Sai had said about any specific things he'd like to share. First thing he said was, do not give up. I did not receive the scholarship the first year that I applied. If you're not successful your first year, apply again the next year.
Absolutely.
So, and he said they remembered me. So, a lot of times people will apply, interview, hopefully you get it. If you don't get it, apply the next year and you have a good chance. The next thing he said, review the Ford Family Foundation's webpage, www.tfff.org. Says there's plenty of useful information there. Again, like these guys said, they are going to ask you kind of what you know about the Ford Foundation, and if you say, don't you make cars? You can end the interview right there. I don't think I wouldn't seriously say it, but that's not the answer, right? So if you don't know something about them, you're going to be in trouble. And then he said, eat a good breakfast or lunch before traveling to Eugene, and that's good advice. Don't go hungry. You're going to be dealing with being a little bit stressed, a little bit, trying to figure it out. Eat well, because it does help, right? So that's really good advice.
What was that email or that?
www.tfff,
The Ford Family
the
Foundation.
Ford Family Foundation.org.
.org, okay.
Okay, so now you guys get to ask, what questions do you have?
Okay, on the application, it requests that we submit a photo of ourselves.
Yeah.
And I'm curious on what to do with that. Do I just take a selfie? Do I have somebody, do I dress up in like a suit?
I didn't know what to do either with that, so I actually just took a picture that with a friend of myself at a park and cropped them out. And because it had a really natural, pretty background, and I was smiling, and it was like a headshot. So I just cropped them out and made it into a headshot, and it worked fine. They also take your picture the day of your interview when you walk in, so be prepared for that.
Oh.
That's because they go back and they sit in a giant room and discuss all of you.
Yeah.
And they hold up your picture so that everybody can remember who they're talking about. So they will take your picture that day. But the photo that you submit doesn't have to be just a nice headshot, smiling. It could be a
Yeah.
selfie, but I think they actually specifically say on there no selfies.
Okay.
Yeah. So just have somebody else snap the picture for you, no big deal.
Right. It looks like you're doing this. Good question. What else? What do you guys need to know?
So like, do you reapply every year, or once you get the scholarship, like what does that mean? Like you know how like, I don't know, I just think of contracts and it's like, hey, it's a 4-year contract or a 2-year contract or like.
So you're not reapplying every year. It is for the 4-year period, but you do this small form every year, and it just basically says, yeah, I'm still interested in doing the scholarship and continuing my education, and yes, I still plan to attend classes full-time during this calendar year or school calendar year. So it's not like an actual reapply. It's just, but you do have to submit a form. You have to submit your grades and things. So there are things that you have to do to keep it going for yourself, but you're not reapplying like in this fashion.
They call it a renewal, so you'll just, it's just a renewal form, yeah.
The one thing
But you
that,
do, oh, go ahead.
well, that I've heard that might be kind of a reapplication is that they actually, if you have, I think a 3.6 GPA and you want to go on for grad school,
Right.
Yeah. that's what I was gonna
they
say.
will pay for you going to get your master's or your doctoral degree, but you have to have that GPA and you have to meet whatever their other, I don't know if any other requirements, but I think there's kind of an application to that part.
There
Yeah.
definitely is, because I am about to do that process,
Yeah.
and they don't pay the 90%, but they pay 80% of the unmet need, and so, yeah, so, and it is a reapply, and you don't necessarily get it, so if that's something that you can.
So if you are interested in pursuing master's or doctorate, PhD, like you said, you have to maintain the 3.6 something GPA, 6.5. The GPA through your bachelor's. They also, I believe, look at how interactive you were with Ford Family Foundation events, because they hold, like she said earlier, they hold events every year. They have events at Chemeketa where the Ford family people come, and they have like a little like luncheon here. So whether or not you're attending those and how involved you are in the process, and then of course maintaining your GPA high enough to get into a graduate program.
So let me give you some additional free advice. You can't afford, if you get this scholarship, you can't afford to be going, well, all I want them to do is pay for my school. I'm not going to be involved with that. That would be just plain stupid. Sorry. But you don't do that. Here's this organization that's completely investing in you, that you have the opportunity to make connections with all kinds of people who will help you for the rest of your life. You know, they become a network for you to help you go on in your career and, go on in school. They'd be crazy to have them, just pay for school but not plug into all those other opportunities, because those are huge opportunities. So anyway,
Not only
even if you're
that-
not going to grad school.
Right, and not only
Connect.
that, even at the events, you're networking with your peers, people that could be very influential in your career. She was sitting at the table that I was sitting at when I received my scholarship. So if you do receive the scholarship, there's a huge banquet that honestly, that was the best food that I've ever had in my life. It was so good. The food was so good. And it's really a beautiful banquet. You get to dress up and bring your family. And she was there with her husband, and both her and her husband were just so encouraging and so welcoming. And it's a great experience. And if you're not attending those types of things, you're really missing out. But I don't think you can miss that one. So definitely don't miss that one. That's when they hand you everything that you need to know.
So can you show them, that's actually what you receive when you are first welcomed in, and it's been like on my mantle like every year because I'm so like happy that I'm part of this. And this is the pin that you get when you graduate. So I got mine a little early.
Last year.
Yeah, I
They're
got mine a
pretty
little.
confident you're gonna do this.
They're very confident because it's not been an easy journey, but I even said, well, I'm not graduating until next year because like I said, I had a little bit of setback with my father, and so I wasn't graduating with my class, but they were like, oh, we know that you're gonna graduate. And I was like, yeah, well, I know it too.
Yeah.
So I just thought I'd wear it for you guys because I just love it, I'm so proud of it, so.
So I was reading on there that you have to attend full-time on-campus classes. The program that I'm looking at is either mostly or partly online. Does that affect anything?
It can.
Well, I'm personally half online and half on campus, and that is the absolute, like, you have to at least be at half-time on campus. But they do allow online as well, but you have to have at least half of your time on campus, and then you can't do online.
But remember that they can be flexible in things, especially depending on your situation. And the program that you are specifically speaking about is also the program that I am potentially going into. And because it will be 2 full days every other week in person, that makes a difference. So as long as you're attending at least what they would consider half-time in-person classes, then online is allowed. There is an exception specifically for nursing program students, because a lot of nursing programs are majority online, but you're doing so many practicum and in-person hours in your interning and things like that, clinical hours, that's what they call it. So it definitely depends, because if you have that clinical side where you're going in person, that can make a difference.
So then, just because you know which program I'm talking about, so the other program through OSU that's all online wouldn't be possible.
No, and I know that for sure, for a fact. Because of my disabilities, it's hard for me to sit for really long periods of time. So like I said, I had to have accommodations for certain chairs, and it would have been easy for me to do it all online, but even with the disabilities, they did not change on that.
Right, they will not allow all online programs.
Even with the doctor's note, still not.
For the academic plan, is there like a recommendation on, do they want to see that you're loading up the credits because you're a great student, or do they want to, or is like if you take 12 credits a term and you want to do summer classes, is that looked as being
No.
lazy, or like what are they?
That's exactly what my plan was. I had Casey help me do my plan because I was completely lost as to what to do. And we stuck right around between 12 to 15 credits just to make sure that I was graduating within the time frame that they wanted. Not that they aren't flexible on that, but when you're creating the plan, they're not going to be impressed just because you're going to take 22 credits a term or 20 credits a term. They're going to ask you how you're going to do that.
Yeah.
They're going to want to know, like, how do you plan on doing that and still maintaining your life? Like we've said a bunch of times, they are a family and they value family. So they're going to look at you and say, how are you going to balance your life and school? So that's not, if you're taking 12 credits a term, that's what they want. That's
Yeah.
what they're looking for. If you can go over that, that's good, but they're going to want to know how you're going to make that work.
And if you're gonna do a big load like that, I think, if you've been doing that, then you can show them that you have success at that. If you're doing 12 and then saying, but I'm gonna be doing 20, I think they're gonna go, that might not be the best plan, right? So some maybe consistency with what you've already been doing makes sense.
Yeah, they definitely want you to explain how you're going to accomplish that, and for sure they would much rather you work part-time if you're going to work and be really successful with your education than load up and just try to get through school quickly. It's because they're investing in your future. If they've invested over $100,000 into me, then I think I don't want to necessarily overload to where I'm like constantly failing. That's just not going to work.
So giving back, from what I've heard, is a big thing for board. That they care that they're affecting the community through the people they're investing in, who are going to give back and do things for the broader community. Would you say that's the case
Absolutely.
with them?
Yeah.
So again, they're gonna look at your activities chart, and are you answering questions in a way that sounds like this is all about me just getting what I want, or is it about me getting through this so that I can provide a better life for my family and help my community in some way? Or so think about how your goals tie into bigger than you.
Absolutely. When I spoke about my goals and why I wanted to do what I wanted to do, I spoke about how this wasn't just for me, how it was for my family, and how I've chosen to go into social work as a career path, and so obviously that gives back to the community in a very obvious way. But why? Why did I want to go into that path, and how am I going to give back? They don't want to hear, oh, I'm just going to show up at work every day and do my job and then go home. They want to know why you're passionate about what you're going to do. And I've noticed that like the human services students here, the nursing students, those types of students tend to receive the scholarship. But if you're not going into a career field that's geared towards giving back, like maybe you're going into engineering or something, you can find a way to correlate that.
But you should think about how it does correlate ahead of time,
Yeah.
Exactly.
so that you can make sure that your answer gives that. Don't make them
Work for it.
guess
Pull it out
about
of-
whether or not
yeah.
you're planning that.
Yeah.
Offer it.
So if you're in a specific program, like let's say engineers, they have MECOP, people are interested in research, there's Building Zero for Portland State. So if you're gonna go into your specific career path, so how would we explain that, hey, I wanna go here, but also because of my career aspirations, I need to go through this program. Do they work well with do they understand that you have to fulfill the requirements of this program because you're trying to get through these internships in order to get these connections, like for example, you wanna be a doctor or so on and so forth?
Yes. You will find that this scholarship is the most understanding, these people are the most understanding people that you will work with. And if you come to them with a plan of action, they will work with you to make it happen.
Because they've invested in you already. So when they choose you, and if let's say the plan changes, and sometimes they do.
They definitely do.
So they're going to work with you. Just keep your lines of communication open, always show up to the events like they talked about, but just let them know if things change. And like you said, if you have to do this to get here along the path, they understand that. They're working alongside trying to help you reach your goal. I don't think they never second guess, like my plan has changed. I was supposed to move into the adult completion program at Corbin, and then it phased into the year I was going to get into it. It phased into an online program only. Used to meet once a week, and then so it was like hybrid. Well, guess what? They don't do online only. So I am like the most unique student at Corbin because I'm in this like, I'm still a part of that program, but I'm like on campus. It's weird. I'm like the only student in it. Does that make sense?
They'll make
Because,
things work.
yeah, so they worked with, both my school and them worked out to where I still, but that was the plan in my plan. It changed. So.
What else?
I'm applying to 2 programs. I'm not sure which one I'm going to get into, but the plan is due the 24th, right?
Yep.
Should I fill out 2 separate plans depending on which one I get into, or just?
I would not. I'd
Would not.
fill out one plan and
The
say,
one that
my
you want
plan,
the most?
what do you really want to do?
Okay.
Submit that one and say, this is what I've applied, to this one. I've also applied to another one as a backup plan, but this is what I'm planning to do. I'm going,
Agreed.
full on
Yeah.
for this. And then, but I am a planner. And so if this doesn't, you don't need to submit 2 plans.
Yeah.
If this does not happen, because I don't get into that program, I have a backup plan to go to this, but I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
It's okay to let them know that you think of, beyond this one thing, because that's reality. And I think that will be fine for them to understand that you're thinking, I have other possibilities, but I'm sold out to doing this.
Just pick the one that you want the most
Yeah.
and go with it. Like I said, the plan I submitted for the is completely gone. None of it is the same. So they're okay with you changing, but they want to hear your most ideal plan in the interview.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just
nobody wants to.
stick to it in the interview because
Nobody wants to invest in anybody who is like, well, I might do
Yeah.
this, I might do that. And it can come out that way. So be careful that it doesn't come out as, I'm undecided. Undecided is uninvestable, because we're going to put it into the people who know what they want to do.
And just to kind of add to that, like, I didn't receive their emails until today, because I received a letter and everything, and I was kind of wondering, and so I actually called the phone number, and I talked to this lady named Ashley, and they're really sweet. Like, what you guys talking about? Like, I haven't even received the scholarship yet, and I felt really welcomed, and and she just said, hey, just, talk to your advisor, have somewhat of a plan, whatever, as best as you can fill it, and, let's say you don't turn it in on Monday, the 24th. She said as long as I can email that to her, that was fine. A couple days later or something like that, because she knows kind of how things work. So I would just recommend a call.
Well, yeah, definitely. If you are on the side where you don't receive a scholarship, I would call and speak to them, ask them what you can do to improve for next year, and they will tell you. I know people who have previously interviewed and they didn't get it, and they'll say things like, we didn't see as much as we would have liked to see on your activities chart, so go out and do some volunteering and apply again. So contact with them is extremely important throughout the entire process. Don't try to do it on your own, because they're more than willing to help.
I had a similar situation as her over there, where I'm waiting for 2 programs. But with either program, they only have like 9 credits the first term, which is ridiculous because it's a very extensive program. What would I do for the other 3 credits?
I believe that they work with you on that because I'm trying to think. I feel like sometimes when you get together with some of the other students, I think
It
that
can
they
be
work with
full-time
that.
for your program.
Yeah.
It is full-time.
So if it's what's considered full-time for your
Yeah.
specific program, because it's so and that's what you will say to them in the interview. Okay, it's not 9 credits, it's not full credits, it's 9 credits, but the program is so extensive that they keep it. You're learning so much in those classes that they want to keep the credits lower. They'll work with you on it.
Okay.
But I would, on something like that,
Yeah.
and they probably will ask you,
Yeah,
but I would offer it.
yeah.
You know, that's the kind of thing where it is a conversation and you can say, if it hasn't come up,
Yeah.
you can say, I just want to point out to you that, you know, I realize this is only 9 credits, but that is full-time in this. So that they know, you know, and it's, you take that opportunity to explain it.
Well, I'm meeting with Casey on Tuesday to work it out.
Good. What else?
During the interview, sorry, I have a lot of questions, but kind of.
That's what this is for, so
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay,
Just
so when
ask.
you guys went in the interview, was there like, were you sitting behind a table or were you literally just sitting in front of them like in a chair?
For mine, there was a table and they were around it and I was on the side, so they were kind of spread like this.
But are you
And I was sitting right here.
far away or?
No,
Not too far?
no, just as if, I guess, just as if like it was this table, I was like
Okay.
right here.
Okay.
So we were like, it was almost like a horseshoe,
Mhm.
and so we could engage with each person.
Yeah, so saying my table was really large,
Mhm.
but all of the people sat close, so they were four, and then I was here, so like a horseshoe shape. But they were all pushed away from the desk and very like open
Relaxed,
and
yeah.
relaxed.
Yeah.
I sat with my legs crossed and just like this, you know, pushed away from the desk as well. But it's not intimidating.
No,
Okay.
it's really not.
So like how many questions total did they ask?
I would say 5 or 6.
Yeah, I'd say around there.
How long overall was the interview? 40? 30 minutes?
15.
No,
15.
Okay, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah,
It was about,
15 or
I think
20.
it's about 15.
It goes by, and that
It feels
may
like
be
5.
just your perception because it's like, it feels like you're in and out and it's over super quick.
Yeah.
But, and you do cover a lot of information in it, but it's going to feel very short.
And then like what about your responses? How long should they be? I mean, is it just enough to answer the question or do you like, I mean, I tend to mumble a little bit when I get going.
I think that they will probably, like, they know, like, they're paying attention to the time, so if you're,
Okay.
like, taking a long time, they'll probably,
Speed you up.
yeah.
Okay.
So,
And I tend to talk really fast in those types of situations, and I get, and so I ask a lot. Did I answer your question? Do you need more
Okay.
information about this? Just to make sure. And I believe, I can't remember which question, but I did ask that. I think, did I answer your question? And he said, well, actually, you left this part out, so can you
Oh,
please
okay.
address this? So, I mean, it's not a huge deal if you, especially if you're having the conversation with them, asking if they understood your response or if they needed more information, they'll tell you.
That's good. Because I ramble. So I had
and I think when I was in there, I think I had to take a deep breath, if I remember correctly, and I was just like, I was so excited and nervous, and they were just like, and I just kind of just shared how I was feeling, and they were like, we know, and there was just no problem, and then from that point on, it was just like,
That's
great.
It's a really good technique to, if you're nervous, to acknowledge it,
Yeah.
to just say, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I'm kind of nervous, so, okay, let's go.
I just shared like,
All right.
I'm just so excited to be here, I'm so
Yeah.
nervous, and I just took a deep breath, and then I was like, good. So they're totally fine with that. So don't feel like you have to just stay if you're feeling that way and just hold it in, because it's gonna come across that way. Like if you need to take a deep breath, and if you need to share, you'll see. You'll see.
It's really
It'll
hard
be
to
great.
convey
Yeah.
what-
Yeah.
And I sat in this exact panel last year, so I've only been a recipient for 1 year now, and you just don't understand until you're there, truly.
All right, any other questions?
You guys were mentioning about like the plan that you submit. Is that something you have to do now?
Yes, before your interview.
Okay, because I didn't get anything like that in my
You
email.
didn't get an email?
Well, I got an email, but it
It's
didn't
attached
mention.
on
It's
there.
an attachment
If you look
to
at the
PDF.
bottom of it.
recommendation for you. If you Google search PDF converter, I would convert it into a Word document so that you can actually fill it, because you cannot fill it on the PDF
Okay.
unless you want to handwrite everything. But I recommend typing it in.
I'm sorry, it's from Ashley. She actually sent it me afterwards with the attachment. Yeah. I think that's the one it was. I'm not sure if she's the one who sent it. Or maybe it's on the, yeah, she sent an template.
Strange.
So if you don't have it on yours, for some reason, email her, call her, say, heard that I'm supposed to have this on mine. I don't have that attached on mine.
Okay,
Can you
and,
send me one?
and that came from Ashley?
Yeah, Ashley.
Ashley Potter.
Yeah.
Okay, 'cause, yeah, I got an email from Casper, but not.
My first email that she sent, saying that no congratulations.
If you click on the link,
It's the first one, yeah.
then it has it on the,
Yeah, selected this stuff, yeah, so. And then she sent one afterwards.
So what else?
I have,
go ahead, you first.
I have kind of a financial question,
So speak up, because it's recording.
Sorry. I had a financial question, and that is, if we interview and we find out we did receive the scholarship, when does that kick in? For example, I'm going to take the summer classes at Chemeketa this summer. So would that scholarship cover my summer class, or does that start the following fall?
I don't know if it has changed, but for me, it was starting in the fall.
Okay.
So has that changed from?
Yeah, it does start in the fall. However, they did send me a form saying if you would like to do a special request for summer classes, because I had been taking summer classes all the way through, and they said, well, we noticed that you generally take summer classes, so if you fill out this form, then you can get summer finance or summer scholarship aid. I ended up not taking that because every term that you take it takes away from the future, and I have a long time left to go, and financially I didn't feel like I needed it as much that summer term that I would like 2 years from now.
Gotcha.
So keep that in mind when you request that.
Okay. And I have to take micro in the summer. It's, or I can't migrate by next spring. So I was just curious.
Yeah, so just keep in mind your overall plan when you choose to take funds during summer term, but they do allow summer term.
Okay.
My question was along the same as hers. I mean, almost the same. I just want to know, like, if you do get it, do they just start paying? I mean, do they pay for your whole school all at once, the whole year, or do they go term by term, like you were saying? Okay.
Yeah.
You were talking earlier about how you had shared some of your experiences and you were kind of vague in general. How vague is too vague?
But you don't want to be super vague. So they asked me why I wanted to be a social worker. And that was based off my essay responses. And they said, we noticed in your essay that you said that your childhood you had adverse experiences. Can you explain a little bit more about how those experiences led you to be a social worker? My response was basically when I was a child, my family was involved with social workers on a regular basis. And to me, those were the people who were successful in life. I mean, they wore the nice clothes, they had cars, they seemed like they had their whole life together, and that's where I wanted to be. So, I mean, I just basically said that I had experiences. I said, you know, that we experienced homelessness and things like that. But I didn't go into the gory details of it. I didn't say, oh, we lived in this tiny little trailer on the side of the road because my dad got us evicted from the apartment complex that we lived in for the 14th time. So, right? So you don't have to go into that many details. You can say it in a very professional way that doesn't harp on that. But again, the most important thing that they're looking for is what did you learn? Why did that bring you here? And how is that going to affect where you're going? So that's what you really want to focus on, not what happened then, but where you're going.
Yeah, and they don't need to know, like, if if it, whatever it is, if it's like abuse or trauma, they don't need to know all those details. If you can, if it's a part of your story and you share like what she said, like how it, as it pertains to you saying it, you don't go into like all the details of that. It's more like, this is where you started, and it's really about how you've overcome where you're going, like she said.
Who else? Any other questions you got?
I had a question that you guys, I mean, Jennifer, you kind of mentioned it a little bit already. You guys keep saying that it's changed your life. When you're going to school, you don't really see the money because, you know, you're take out loans or whatever. How has it changed your life then? Like with regards not just to money, but like, you know, does it make you feel more confident? Is there support?
That's exactly it. I mean, having the support system has just changed how I feel about going to school and my ability to do so. Like, these people believe in me, and they believe in me so much that they're willing to finance basically my entire education. And for me, that gave me drive to do it. Not only that, but I realized that by me receiving the scholarship, that took a spot away from somebody else. And that makes me want to do it all the more. Because if I go in there and fail, there was somebody else who could have gotten that scholarship and succeeded, and what a waste that would be. So, I mean, they support you so much. You may not see the money physically, but you do, because you do get some living expenses included in the scholarship. So, I mean, you do see an increase in your income that you have, but really it's the support that you receive from the foundation that is changing you. And for me, looking at a mountain of debt down the road, when you're graduated with basically no debt, that's life-changing. That's $300 or $400 or $500 a month that you're not taking out of your income, and that you can support your family with, and that you can do great things with. So I mean, you'll I don't know how to explain it, but you will feel like it changed your life. It definitely did. I say that TRiO changed my life, because if it wasn't for TRiO, I would have never applied for the scholarship. So I mean, the universe lines up in a very interesting way.
You had said that I want to use the words that you just used. That you saw a raise in like a cost of living allowance. Is that kind of how you phrased that?
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what scholarship you were awarded with. Would that also apply to those of us interviewing for the Restart scholarship?
I'm Restart.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You will notice a difference.
It's like, you know, in your regular Chemeketa or whatever college you may be going to, you have your award letter, and you know, you get your grants and maybe your loans. I personally don't take out loans because Ford allows me not to have to do that. But I have seen an increase in my leftover funds, you know, after everything, all the schooling is paid for, from what I did before I had the scholarship, by a pretty significant amount, actually.
I know, kind of to add to your question here in the front, like I know that I talked to them today about, like I was like, hey, so what is this, you know, because honestly, I've never really applied for scholarships, and this was like the first time. And what the lady talked to me about is they look at cost of attendance. So that's not just your tuition, not just your books. You know, that includes like living expenses and stuff like that. So,
Tuition and fees, room and board, books, transportation, and then personal expenses. So and you can actually work with your financial aid office to increase some of those areas. If you have like childcare expenses and those kinds of things, those can get added in to increase what they see, because colleges have just a general cost of attendance that they use. But if your specific life is different than that, and you have major expenses that, could get added in that increase that cost of attendance, then Ford can cover more, right? They pay 90% of your unmet need, right? So take out all of the grants that you get, and
And they do
then
not
whatever is
include
left
loans.
over, 90% of that is what they'll pay.
And loans are not included in your unmet need.
Nope.
So that would not subtract from the amount that Ford is providing. And Ford will only pay for things that your college, the university that you attend approves. So everything goes through the financial aid office at your university or college that you're attending. And it's not that they don't want to do it, but that's the rules. If they won't approve it, like somebody was stating, that they were getting their transportation taken care of as part of their scholarship, and at another university, they don't take transportation into account, then Ford will not pay it. But sometimes you can go in, like Mike was saying, and get that added through the financial aid office, and then they will take care of it.
Or a computer, you can add it, you need a computer for school, you can get that added to your cost of attendance, and then Ford can pay for 90% of that.
So I want to add to a couple of things. One, the first year that I was in school, my university is a private university, and they required that you had health insurance, and I didn't have health insurance. So they paid for my health insurance because it was billed through the school, and they could bill it. And so that was really amazing that I had health insurance that they actually paid for that. And if going back to the study abroad, I just want to clarify, if you are interested and you've looked into study abroad programs, one thing I didn't know when we did this, so I was looking at all the programs in the world and everything I could find, and I realized that the way that they do that, again, it has to go through your school. So if you have been looking at study abroad, make sure that it's connected to your school, because they bill it through, like schools work together with study abroad programs. So make sure if you are looking at one, that you're looking at one that, number one, it somehow works into your program, and number two, that it can go through your school. Because there are plenty of study abroad programs if you just look online, but it doesn't work that way. They don't pay through there, they pay through your school. So, and one more thing, when you were talking about how has it changed your life, it's changed my life in more ways than I can express. But very, very specifically, I knew as an older adult, I didn't want to take on $100,000 in loans. And going to a private institution like Corbin University, I didn't know how I'd be able to afford that. So I really prayed, and I said, God, if you want me to go here, if this is where you're leading me, then show me where. And he showed me this scholarship, and I knew that if it was meant for me, then I would get it. And I did, and then I was approved to go to Corbin. Since I've been at Corbin, the study abroad that I had the opportunity to go to, I was able to go, while I was there, on one of my study weeks, I went on a mission trip to Romania. And I was able to go to like very remote villages and serve and work with students in elementary schools that were really, really impoverished. That experience is one of the most incredible experiences in my life. Seeing, it is absolutely, I get overwhelmed thinking about it, but being able to go to an institution that gives back so much, they are very Christ-centered. For me, that's what I really wanted. So it's really impacted my life. The education that I've received there, how many things that they do to help the community and make a difference for other people, it's just been absolutely incredible. I just want to say, I'm so excited for you guys. I hope you all get it. Congratulations, just getting to this part. When we mean it and they mean it when you walk in the doors. Like, you deserve it. You're meant to be there. If there's anything inside of you saying like, I don't know if I can do this, or why did they select me, there's a reason. And so I'm excited for you, and congratulations. I really, really hope that you get it. Thank you for coming today. I hope this has been helpful.
Yes, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right.
Congratulations.
So your
So-
cheerleader right now. That was awesome.
Thank you.
And we're cheering for you too.
Thank you. All right, congratulations, everybody.
I'm so
Do
excited for you
well.
guys.
Do your best. Relax.